final season of My Hero Academia is here. And think about what a wild thing that is. In the middle of one of the biggest superhero booms in history, Marvel movies, DC reboots, The Boys, Invincible, it's an anime and not a comic book giant that's giving us one of the most complete superhero sagas of our time. This isn't another endless cycle of reboots. It's a single story, aging forward, daring to ask what happens when power and legacy actually come with a cost. That's what hooked me back in season 1, seeing a powerless kid point at the chaos around him and still say, I want to save people with a smile. We've arrived at the moment of truth.
We're in the end game now.
The final test of what this story has been building all along. So the question is, in a world drowning in superheroes, what makes this story stand apart? It's time to go beyond. So what's cooking, my fellow plot heads? I'm Brian, a Hollywood insider and story consultant. And before we dig in, I just wanted to say a sincere thank you for all of you pulling up a chair at this table. It really means a lot to me. So this is the secret recipe, where we break down a single story ingredient by ingredient to see why this recipe works. And along the way, I'll show you the tools you can use to level up your stories, because you too can be a storyteller. And today we're serving up My Hero Academia, a franchise that has meant so much to me since back in 2016. As we head into the final season, I'm deconstructing the 4 core ingredients, plus 1 secret ingredient.
The secret ingredient of my secret ingredient soup.
That makes this anime one of the boldest superhero sagas of our time. So sharpen your pencils, activate your quirks. It's time to... When most superhero stories start, the hero is already super, or becomes super pretty early on. Superman was born that way, Spider-Man gets bit by a radioactive spider, Batman's got money to burn. But My Hero Academia starts with a kid who has nothing. No quirk, no chance, just notebooks full of hero stats and a heart that moves faster than his brain. Deku doesn't rise because he's destined. He rises because when Bakugo was drowning in that sludge monster, his body just moved. No power, no plan, just an instinct to save. That's what All Might sees. And that brings us to the broken legacy. All Might, the symbol of peace, is fading. The greatest hero the world has ever seen is coughing blood behind the curtain. He doesn't need a clone of himself, he needs a successor who can carry the burden when his body gives out. So he chooses Deku, a fanboy who worshipped him, who suddenly has to live up to the very symbol he adored. It's not just a dream come true, it's a secret that isolates him. He has to train harder than anyone just to keep his body from tearing itself apart. But here's the other side of it. This isn't just Deku's story, it's All Might's too. His epic stand against All for One is one of the greatest moments in anime, relinquishing that last flame, pointing to the camera and saying,
Now, it's your turn.
A symbol of peace gutted and then left behind. We spend seasons watching him wrestle with that, questioning whether he still has a purpose. All Might has to learn again what it means to be powerless. Even without a quirk, he rallies a plan to end All for One. He climbs into the Iron Might suit, reversing Deku's journey, proving that even stripped of his power, he is still a hero. And that's the beauty of this setup. It's a story not about gaining power, it's about surviving it. Now, going back to Deku, he quite literally is the last person who will be able to use One for All. But he keeps going, because the legacy inherited isn't just flashy strength, it's a huge responsibility. Other heroes chase a dream. Deku inherits a burden, and that is what changes everything. Takeaway 1, don't just give your hero power, give them a legacy that's already cracked. Let them inherit a burden that demands sacrifice, secrecy, and growth beyond their limits. A broken torch is more compelling than a shiny new one, because every step forward forces your hero to prove they're actually worthy of carrying it. In most superhero stories, villains are treated like symbols. The Joker is chaos, Thanos is balance, Lex Luthor is greed and envy. They're larger than life, but often less than human. But in My Hero Academia, villains aren't just archetypes, they're broken souls. Outcasts shaped by trauma, neglect, and manipulation. And that's why they land so hard. Take Shigaraki. On the surface, he's unhinged, this eerie, hand-obsessed destroyer. But peel back that horror and you see a child cursed by All for One. A boy whose father rejected heroes because of manipulation. His quirk decay wasn't a gift, it was a sentence. And the tragedy runs so deep he wears his family's severed hands as reminders. That's not just a villain design, that's generational trauma turned into an origin story. Then you have Twice, On paper, kind of comic relief, a Deadpool riff, but he's one of the most tragic figures in the story. His quirk splits him into so many duplicates that he lost his sense of self. Was he the real one, or is he just some other copy? And in that confusion, society pushes him out. But at his core, Twice was loving, loyal. When he finally found the League of Villains, it was the first real family he had. And when he dies, it isn't triumph, it's devastating. Himiko Toga is another case. On the surface, a sadistic shapeshifter, but really a girl punished for her way of loving. Her quirk forced her desires into violence, and society branded her as a monster. So she leaned into the role she was told she was born to play. And then there's Dabi, a kid who should have died in a fight. Instead, All For One dragged him back, turned him into a walking corpse of hate, literally scarred by his father's obsession with surpassing All Might. That reveal hits because it's not just villain versus hero, it's family versus family. A father whose ambition consumed his son, and a son whose flames now consume everything. That's Shakespeare with blue fire. And hanging over all of this is All For One. He doesn't just fight heroes, he manufactures villains. He twisted Shigaraki's childhood. He exploited Toga, Twice, Dabi. It's not chaos, it's design. All For One creates tragedies to build his army. That makes him less of a mustache twirler and more of this devil, tempting, breaking, and reshaping people until they're his weapons. And here's the heart of it. Deku doesn't want to kill these villains. He wants to save them. When he reaches out to Shigaraki in the middle of battle, it's not about winning. It's about healing the broken child buried inside. We've seen redemption actually work in this story. Gentle Criminal, one of my absolute favorite characters. The washed-up villain chasing clout finds dignity again because Deku refuses to treat him as disposable. And he has that huge moment where he's literally holding up the academy. These arcs prove Deku's instinct isn't foolish. It's the heart of the story. Sometimes villains can be saved, which only makes the ones who can't hurt even more. That's a radical idea for a superhero story. Batman doesn't try to cure the Joker. The Avengers don't rehabilitate Thanos. But Deku, he refuses to give up on anyone's humanity, no matter how far they've fallen. Takeaway 2. Villains become unforgettable when they're not just obstacles to defeat, but people your hero refuses to give up on. Build your antagonist so layered that redemption feels possible, even if it breaks your heart when it fails. Superhero teams are tough for stories. The Avengers gives everyone a splashy moment, but usually it's the same few faces who carry most of the weight. And that's the real challenge of Ensemble. In most teams, someone fades into the background, but My Hero Academia pulls off something rare. It makes the ensemble itself matter. Class 1A isn't just Deku's cheer squad, it's a chorus. Every voice gets a solo. Some arcs pay off seasons later. Jiru, the quiet sound girl who turns her music into a weapon, leading the cultural festival, and later standing on the front lines against All For One. Lita, who once defined himself by rules in his brother's shadow, grows into something greater, a hero who runs not for himself but for others. His vow that his quirk exists to guide lost children home pays off in the final war, when he literally carries Shoto towards his reckoning with his brother Dabi and his family. These aren't filler, they're beats that ripple back into bigger story. Other characters reshape the plot. Shinzo, the kid with the villain quirk, earns his place and later saves the day. Even Class 1B gets to shine. Monoma's copy quirk pays off huge in the final war. Seriously, he has some of the coolest moments. In this show, no one is wasted. So I think that's all the characters covered, right? Just kidding. Then there's, of course, Bakugo, or Explosion Murder God Dynamite, the rival who starts as an explosive bully but evolves into one of the deepest arcs in the show. His rivalry with Deku isn't static, it transforms into respect, apology, and even sacrifice. Bakugo doesn't just push Deku to grow, he grows himself, from rage to responsibility. And then there's Shoto Todoroki. His powers are literally split between fire and ice, a perfect symbol of a boy torn between his abusive father and his own identity. His arc isn't just about beating rivals, it's about confronting generational trauma, which culminates in the Dabi reveal. That's not side character material, that's Greek tragedy in a superhero uniform. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface here. There's Kirishima, Kaminari, Tokuyami, Momo, Mina. The list goes on. I can't possibly give every member their full spotlight here, but I would love to know, who's your favorite member of Class 1A? Drop it in the comments. And all of that builds to one of the most powerful arcs in the series, Class 1A versus Deku. When Deku shoulders the world alone, it's his classmates that pull him back from the edge. They remind him heroism isn't about burning yourself out until nothing's left. It's about standing together. Takeaway 3. The strongest ensembles refuse to be wallpaper. Give every character quirks, flaws, and arcs that evolve over time. When your climax comes, your story won't just orbit one hero. It'll ignite with the chorus of them. In a lot of superhero stories, powers are wish fulfillment. Superman flies, Spider-Man swings. Iron Man gets another suit upgrade. Sure, they all deal with consequences, but oftentimes they kind of reset after the next issue. My Hero Academia doesn't hit the reset button. Every gift comes with a cost. Uraka can't float without feeling sick. Oyama, who is given a quirk that doesn't work with his body, causes him to have stomach issues. Oh, hold on, I shouldn't have eaten that street food taco. And Deku, every time he pushes himself past his limits, his body breaks down a little bit more. His doctors even warn, one more fight like this, and he may never be able to use his arms again. Here, power is pain, and heroism means carrying that pain anyway. But it's not just injuries, it's sacrifice. Aizawa loses his leg and one of his eyes holding the line against Shigaraki, and then there are the ones who don't come back. Midnight, Sir Night-Eye, Stars and Stripes, even Bakugo for that terrifyingly long moment. These aren't comic book deaths with an easy reboot. These are scars. They remind us that being a hero in this world means putting your life on the line, and not everyone makes it home. Takeaway 4. Power without cost is just fantasy. Power with sacrifice, now that's story. The more your characters bleed, break, or even fall, the more your audience will believe what's at stake. So after all the blood, betrayals, and broken bones, what's left? It's the secret ingredient.
Today's secret ingredient is...
Most superhero stories hit the reset button. Cities collapse, villains escaped, heroes win, and by the next issue or next movie, the world kind of goes back to normal. But My Hero Academia refuses to play that game. The world itself doesn't just sit, it burns back. Let's start with the symbol of peace. All Might wasn't just a hero, he was the hero. The single pillar propping up society's faith. And when that pillar crumbles, the whole structure starts shaking. His fall doesn't just scar him, it creates a vacuum. Who fills it? Can anyone? That question ripples across the series. And the answer is messy. Civilians lose faith, we see riots and protests, and people hurling stones at Deku, because from their perspective, the pro-heroes failed. They couldn't stop the collapse, they couldn't stop Shigaraki, and suddenly the ordinary people of this world realize they're not safe. The story refuses to treat civilians like collateral. They're active players whose fear drives the plot forward. Meanwhile, the hero system itself fractures. Endeavor finally reaches number 1, and what does it bring him? Shame, doubt, and the crushing weight of expectations. Other pro-heroes burn out, retire, or just disappear. It's not just villains putting pressure on the system, it's the system cracking under its own contradictions. And then you got the class struggle of quirks. It's not all glamorous powers. People with heteromorphic quirks, visible mutations like Shoji's arms or Spinner's reptilian body, are treated like outsiders. Racism and discrimination run deep, and it explodes when villain groups weaponize that prejudice. This isn't just a battle of superpowers. It's a commentary on inequality, baked into the DNA of the story. It reframes the fight against All for One as a fight for all of humanity. And through it all, the ideological war sharpens. It's two competing blueprints for society: control versus community, fear versus trust. The story itself forces you to ask, which world are we building, and who pays the price to build it? The true battle of My Hero Academia was never just heroes versus villains. That conflict only exposes the scars already baked into society. A world that worships symbols instead of building systems. A world that glorified quirks but marginalized those who didn't fit the mold. A world too comfortable to question what hero really meant. And that's why Deku's story matters. Because to become the world's greatest hero isn't just about defeating an enemy, it's about forcing the world itself to change. And that's why this is the secret ingredient. And takeaway 5. Don't keep your world static. Let it fracture. Let faith be lost and clawed back. Let institutions burn and rebuild. The most powerful stories aren't just battles against villains. They're battles against the broken systems that created them in the first place. So why does My Hero Academia stand apart in a world drowning in superheroes? Because it refuses just wish fulfillment. It shows us a broken legacy where the greatest symbol of peace can fall, and a powerless boy must carry the torch. It gives us villains' scars, families, and pain that make redemption as important as defeat. Bake's powers come with a price. Every battle carving scars into bodies and graves onto battlefields. And it paints all of this inside a world that doesn't just challenge heroes, it breaks them and forces society itself to change. And that's the power of this secret recipe. These aren't just ingredients that make My Hero Academia shine. They're tools you can stir into your own stories. Use even one of these and your story won't just entertain, it'll endure. Because even in a fractured world, we can all stand up and say, no need to fear, I am here. So once again, I'm Brian, this is Plotluck, and if you've ever loved a story, felt let down by one, or dreamed of telling your own, pull up a chair, hit subscribe, and let's stir the plot together. That's a wrap!